Hello and welcome back to the channel. Now, biggest news since the last video is I have a dinosaur tattoo now. Yeah! Spinosaurus aegypticus, best dinosaur in the business. He's going away. Going away. Today, I want to talk to you about some of the books that we've brought into our collection recently. There have been, how many months since the collection video? 5? Let's go 5. And since then, a lot has changed within our collection. Of course, there are a lot of the same books, but key change, I have begun selling my Terry Pratchett first edition collection. And that is because we needed to help fund the shop somehow. So I have relinquished The Colour of Magic and The Light Fantastic, and that money went on stock. So, you know, it's still an asset. It hurt a little bit, but also like to know that I had them and to know that I completed that collection was enough for me. So I'm okay. And now I'm kind of focusing my collection on, well, rarer, weird things, or, you know, things that are a bit obscure, not necessarily things that are really, really high value, but are like a bit odd. Laura isn't with us today. She's upstairs because she is unwell, and unfortunately we've had to close the shop for a couple of days because she has the dreaded flu, which we've all had. It was finally her turn, and this is the thing about customer-facing roles. You never know when the flu's going to get you. Just imagine Laura's witty banter jumping in at various points, and of course this is a shared collection, so this is both of our efforts here. To start off with, the biggest thing that happened in terms of meeting authors in the last few months, there are a couple, but I'm going to start alphabetically. We got to meet the amazing Susanna Clarke, who is my favourite author of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, and we met her at an event at the South Bank Centre in London, and we got her to sign a hardback copy of Jonathan Strange and my first US edition of The Ladies of Grace Adieu, which I've now read. It was a while coming, and it's a beautiful little book. Obviously, Jonathan Strange is just something special, but there's a lot of that specialness in here. And just to show you inside, can you see that? To Laura and Ross, Susanna Clarke. It was, honestly, she is so lovely, just wonderful, wonderful woman. I also now added a signed Piranesi to the collection and a signed The Wood at Midwinter. And I have Inkstone books to thank for this one. Thank you, Brett, for putting one aside for me. Really appreciate it. We love you, Inkstone. Moving on, a gift from our friend Sam Harrison. You can go find his channel just by literally looking in the comments section of our videos, because he's always there. And Sam gave us Philip Chase's Adan trilogy after he was done with them, and my gosh, I'm so grateful for these. This is one of those books that I really want to read this year, because everything I've heard about them is that they're incredible, and I like the kind of idea that Sam was talking about of dragons being sort of like the nuclear weapons of the fantasy world. That is so cool. That's such a cool concept. They have these beautiful covers. Have you seen these covers? They're just amazing. The stained glass effect. Anyway, Philip, I'm coming for you this year. Watch out. Next, we have some very cool paperbacks of Raymond E. Feist's Magician series. So let's have a look at these. We have Magician Apprentice and Magician Master. This is how the books were split in the US. In the UK, they were all one book. And these are kind of really cool pulpy paperbacks with these covers. Look at that cover. Isn't that fun? These are great. They've got the classic art on them. So we've been looking for better versions of these. We've got a trade paperback. And I don't know, I just think the art is really fun. They're great. Raymond E. Feist, an author I started to read a bit of. I started to read Magician. I have played a lot of D&D. So I feel it was, for me, I didn't quite get into it because it was almost a bit too familiar. But at some point, when I need some familiar fantasy, I will be jumping back into it. So yes, probably not this year. We'll see how we go. The other most amazing author meeting that we had this year was that the incredible, the illustrious, the unique, the one of the kind John Gwynne came to visit us at Station Books. with Ed and Will, the brothers Gwyn. It was honestly, we were absolutely blown away that John came to visit. It blew our minds. So this is speaking on Laura's behalf because she has read more of these than I have. In fact, I haven't read any. Going to fix that this year as well. But John was kind enough to sign these 3 of Blood and Bone books for us. This is our Blood and Bone trilogy, and we have special personalisation on the inside. So this one says, "To Laura, always a pleasure to see you." I know, right? Following that, we have, "For Laura, love your shop." And then, "For Laura, truth and courage." I mean, incredible. We also managed to see him when he was being interviewed at Waterstones Piccadilly with Tasha Suri and James Logan. And there he signed our first edition copy of Malice to both of us, to Ross and Laura. Truth and Courage, a bit more difficult to make out, sorry about the light. And also Shadow of the Gods. So cool, honestly, amazing. Just an amazing man. So kind, so generous with his time. We love him. We are big John Gwyn stans on Hardy's books. Moving on. I did this pile upside down. That was a mistake. Okay, I picked up this very cool hardback of the Cosmic Trilogy by C.S. Lewis. This is, everyone knows him for Narnia, but not many people know him for his sci-fi series, which has 3 books in it: Out of the Silent Planet, Perelandra, and That Hideous Strength. I read the first one. It was kind of weird. Sort of liked it, didn't love it, but I did love this. Look at the art. Isn't the art absolutely incredible? And this omnibus edition was just too cool. I had to buy it. So I have this now. I feel like his tone of voice is one of, like, his writing voice is kind of similar to the writing voice I'd like to have. The kind of old gentleman being very kind and a little bit witty. I like that. Moving on, we have what has now replaced The Colour of Magic in the little wooden box, the little glass boxes that are above the Terry Pratchett collection. This was the Christmas present that Laura got me, and let me tell you, when I unwrapped this, my brain kind of exploded. We have a copy of The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula Le Guin. I believe this is the second US edition or a later hardback edition, but the most important thing about this, signed. Let's see if I can get that to focus. Signed by Ursula herself. Ursula Le Guin is extraordinary. She is kind of not just my literary hero, but in some ways my political hero as well. So to have a signed book by Ursula Le Guin, and especially a book that I love, The Left Hand of Darkness, is so wonderful. Laura, I love you. Thank you so much for this. I have one more Ursula Le Guin book. I picked up this amazing paperback of The Dispossessed. Look at that art. This is from the US, and I just think this is extraordinary. The Dispossessed, we're going to be reading in our Station Books book club in March, to coincide with Jared Henderson's The Dispossessed book club, because he's going to have lots of good ideas and I want to steal them. We have to thank our friend Lady May Reads for securing us a broken binding copy of Station 11. Of course, this is Laura's favourite book, and this one has the cool pink sprayed edges, and it has the Dr. 11 end papers, which are just incredible. I love them. They're so good. It's such good fun. So this is signed with Emily St. John Mandel's complicated pink scrawl. Are you enjoying this? We've had a few arcs recently that have passed through our doors. Some rare arcs that, not ones from publishers. And this is a note. If you've been given an arc by an author or a publisher, don't sell it. That's yours. If you want to get rid of it, take it to a charity shop. Don't sell books that you've been given. We don't like that here at Hardy's Books. However, if I see an arc for sale that I want, I will probably buy it. So, I don't know. I need to work out my philosophy on that one. And this here is an arc of China Mieville's Perdido Street Station, which is a very well acclaimed fantasy book. If you heard of Perdido Street Station, I love the green tint that they put on this arc, and even more amazingly, it's actually signed as well. I was very, very lucky to find this one and to pick it up. So this is going in our collection. We are not selling it. This is for keepsies. Maybe this might find its way back into a charity shop one day. It's possible. So the Pratchett collection has been gutted, but I did add a couple of things to it. I found these in a charity shop. They are audiobooks of my two favourite Discworld books, Equal Rights and Night Watch. And yes, they are on CD. And yeah, weird. Very cool. The weird thing about Equal Rights is this is read by Celia Imrie. It seems that there are more versions of this audiobook than I knew existed. So very interesting. Possibly the rarest book to darken our door in the last few months has been this book, and it is another arc. Now, those who know the troubled publishing history of the Sun Eater sequence know that Christopher Rocchio had a bit of problems getting the book out in large quantities, and that now the first editions, the hardbacks particularly, which two of them were then kind of commissioned by Anderida Books, so we thank them for that. But anyway, the UK hardbacks in particular, very scarce, and so I'm very lucky to have them. But even more scarce, I now have an arc of Empire of Silence, which is absolutely insane. This is crazy. It says 2018 on the spine. It has, you know, lots of kind of publishing blurb on the back. And most interestingly, in this blurb here, I don't know if you can see that. Maybe I'll just tilt it that way. Yeah. It doesn't refer to Hadrian as the Sun Eater. It refers to him as the Sun Slayer. Interesting piece of history there. And incredibly rare. And I realise how lucky I was to find this. And no, you can't have it. Christopher, if you ever come to the UK, I'm finding you. And I'm going to get your name on this. We have to thank one of our viewers here, which I've mentioned this in a previous video. Andrew Stevens gave us this copy of The Way of Kings hardback to complete our US hardback Stormlight Archive collection. He sent this all the way from the States. I'm pretty sure it cost more to ship than it did to actually just buy the book in the first place, which makes it all the more incredible that he was so generous. We have now, on top of that, also completed our Stormlight collection by managing to get one of the signed and numbered editions of Wind and Truth. So this is signed, as you can see here. There were 10,000 of these done. We got 5,661, and I don't know how Brandon does it. He must have really hench wrists. Like, he does videos, doesn't he, where he's like talking to his podcast mates and he's like, you know, signing books at the same time. I'm just in awe of the guy, you know? What a guy. I finally read Oathbringer in December. I'm behind, sorry. Oathbringer was great. It's actually my favourite of the series so far. Even though the Dalinar flashbacks, I just don't really like flashbacks too much, but they needed to be told in order to tell the story of the book. I'm not going to say any more because you might not have read it and I don't want to spoil it. So there we go. One of the reads I want to do this year is Neil Stephenson's Anathem, and this is the first edition right here, and I want to thank Kart for the recommendation of Anathem from our 1 year on YouTube anniversary. I think this sounds incredible. Just all the descriptions about this book make it seem like it's my kind of sci-fi book. But, of course, I'm not just showing you a book for the sake of it. This is not just a first edition. It is also signed by the man himself there. I'm very, very pleased with this one. So cool. So cool. And, yeah, a key part of the sci-fi canon of the last few decades. Very excited to crack that one open. At the signing, where we met John Gwynn for the first time, we also met Tasha Suri, and we got her to sign our copy of the Jasmine Throne as well. I love the heart. This was an improvised heart right there. Yeah, this is also a US first edition, so quite difficult to find those as well. Usually they have the sprayed edges because I think they're in Illumicrate or something, but this is sprayed edgeless. And if you know me, and you know the channel, you know sprayed edges ain't my jam. I would much rather have an edgeless book, unless they're done tastefully. Last books, historical books right here. So these are the Canadian authorized editions, first authorized editions of Lord of the Rings, and they're in terrible condition. I mean, look at that, they are falling apart, but they're very cool all the same. I'm kind of wondering if there's a way to restore them. Unfortunately, if you look at that, you've got the text block has kind of fallen off the spine a little bit, but maybe that could be glued. If you are an expert in restoring paperback books, please show up in the comments and let me know how you would restore these. For those who don't know the history of the publication of The Lord of the Rings over the pond, there was a copyright issue that meant that Ace, the publisher Ace, had a loophole which enabled them to republish The Lord of the Rings in an unauthorized edition, which are now very sought after. They're very collectible. But once that had all been sorted out, a lot of books came out with this term on the top, authorized edition, because of course they weren't unauthorized. So these are really cool. I'd never actually seen these before, and especially not in the UK. Like the fact that they made it over the seas, and also this one still has a price tag on it, which I love. McMaster Bookstore. Can you see that? You really can't. I've messed up the lighting for this video. I'm sorry if it's difficult to look at stuff. But yeah, $1.50, which is the same as it says on the top. $1 Canadian to be specific. So there we go. Those are the recent additions to the collection. And let me say, I'm feeling very good about the collection right now. It's nice to have a different philosophy behind collecting, like thinking about I want to find rare and unique things that people might not have in their collections. I mean, you know, the obvious example being the Empire of Silence arc. I mean, that's very unique. Of course, when you own and run a bookshop, your philosophy for owning books becomes quite different as well. You know, it's quite easy to just get a book. So to have a book collection, you are almost kind of curating the books that you love, plus the books that you think are worth owning. Anyway, I'm going to call time on the video there. I will see you in the next video. And don't forget to buy a book. Links in the description.